Sorry about that. I lost the connection, so I had to restart it. So anyway, as I was saying, so people don't migrate very far. When people migrate, young people are more likely to migrate than older people. Single people are more likely to migrate. So the more children you have, the more connections you have, the older you are, the cost in terms of the physical cost and the emotional cost and the cost of place, the higher that cost is. It's easier for me to make decisions than it is for me to make decisions on behalf of other people. So I can get up and move and go someplace without there being a lot of complication. But when I have a family, that decision becomes harder. So younger people move, especially when we're talking about overseas. So when people move internationally, they tend to gravitate towards urban areas or cities. Why? Because there's a perception of opportunities. There's also this phenomenon known as chain migration, which is I go someplace, I'm successful, I send word back to others, and they come back, or they follow my lead, and they come because they know that there's a connection there. So urban areas tend to have more of those opportunities, more of those clusterings of people from different places because of chain migration. Also, urban people are less migratory than rural people for some of the same reasons. Why are people moving to the cities? Because of opportunities. So people then are less likely to move out of the cities than they would be. So these are some of Ravenstein's major ideas. And if we think about this, these all make perfectly good sense. So anyway, so that's really kind of the big concept of migration. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about was the idea of forced versus voluntary migration. So most migration is voluntary. Most migration is people choosing to move. Then you have what's called involuntary migration or forced migration, which is things like the slave trade. And then there's kind of this middle area where people feel that they are being forced because of the perception of their environment or perception of what's going on around them. And sometimes that perception is real, and sometimes it may be exaggerated. So there's a lot of controversy now about what to do with refugees coming from places like Syria and Afghanistan. Refugees, I think, fall into this idea, this kind of tend to be classified as forced migrants or forced migrations, because they legitimately feel that their life is in danger for whatever purpose. And so refugees, one of the challenges of refugees is, unlike voluntary or planned migrations, where it's planned and where you have you know where you're going to go, and you maybe saved up some money. Refugees basically just stop what they're doing and run to get away from the perceived problems, which means they may go without any documentation of who they are. They may not have passports, they may not have identification, they may not have any money, they may not have any belongings other than what they can carry with them. And so refugees find themselves not only displaced from their country, but often disconnected from their culture, and often without the means to support themselves for the short term. Last year, when I was at the reading, when I was an essay grader, I actually graded the essay on refugees, which, once again, if you go to the webpage, you can find that there. But it was actually a very interesting experience to read and grade these essays about refugees and their status and their situation and how these things work, because they, there's so much about that question was about why are they migrating, and what do they bring with them, and what kind of complications or situations do they encounter or create in the country that they are migrating to. So I encourage you to kind of go look at that essay on hgap5.com. It's there. It's there with an opportunity for you to practice. So there's also some really good writing videos that are there as well, to kind of learn how to write an FRQ. If your teacher has not gotten to that point in the year, or if you just want some extra practice, I've given you some of those things there. So I appreciate your time today with our first video of our first review of the year. I do encourage you to log on to the site and ask lots of questions, so that next time We can address the things that are specifically relevant to you, and not just what I think is important, but what you think is too. And then we can do that. So go ahead and log in to the site, ask questions. Next week, we're going to look mainly at culture and ethnicity. Are going to be the main concepts that we touch on. I'm going through these in the order that I tend to cover them in my course. So anyway, those are there for you, and I look forward to next week. Thanks. Bye.